This is how we live it, the Total Faith Show. Come on, get your hands up. Everybody sing it loud. This is how we live it, the Total Faith Show. Come on, get your hands up. Everybody sing it loud. This is how we live it, the Total Faith Show. Total Faith. Lifestyle, relationships, business, networking, ministry, community. The Total Faith Show. Stop the show.
Hello and welcome to the Total Faith Show. I am your host, Cyndi Ashley. I greet you each and every week onto your computer screens, your television screens, your iPads, laptops, iPhones, or mobile devices. We want you to win because together we build, together we win. Everyone wins at TFN. And today we have a winner here in the studio. And her name is Kathleen Zebzda. She is the associate member of New Yorkers United for Kids. Kathleen has worked with children and families for 35 years in New York State and in the public schools before retiring. She has experience with testing and evaluating children and educational best practices, if you will. As a school psychologist during the No Child Left Behind, and some of you should remember that, she knows the damage, the inappropriate testing and instruction, what that can do. And she now works full-time to get the, listen to this, she works full-time to get the repeal of the Common Core state standards and all that it encompasses. And today she is here representing New Yorkers United for Kids, and we're going to talk about the Common Core. Is that right?
Absolutely, Cyndi. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
I thank you for coming, and I just would like to give a shout out to Kathy
Zebzda. Yes.
Shout out to her. I met her through a colleague, Howard Hellwinkle. And so I'm really excited about what you're about to bring to Total Faith viewers. This is an area in which we need to be educated and to learn more about what this Common Core really means. But before we get into Common Core, let's find out a little bit about you, Kathleen.
Okay.
Where do you hail from? Where are you from? Do you have children? Are you married? What's the deal?
I am a Bronx girl. Grew up in the Bronx, traveled north through the years, have 2 children. I've lived in Westchester County, Putnam County, Orange County, working in schools and different facilities from the state of New York to work with families and children. And I am now very happily the grandmother of 3 little ones.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are they, how old?
Well, the oldest just started kindergarten.
Okay.
And that put a little bit more fire under my feet because I can see how bright and sparkly she was going, and I want nothing to get in the way of that. So for all children, especially for mine, but for all children.
Wow. And your passion, just speaking with you briefly before the show, like you said, you know, when passion meets your gifting and your gifting meets your passion, then there's a synergy that just connects.
Absolutely.
And you can feel it. So I really appreciate you sharing that because I'm in my element when I'm behind a camera or in front of a camera or behind a mic. And to really bring healing. It's about healing and empowerment for us here at Total Faith Network. So I'm glad that you're here. Now, let's educate the people.
Sure.
Let's first talk about this whole area of where did Common Core come from? could you provide a brief history
Sure.
of Common Core for those who do not know what
Okay.
Common Core is?
Right, and it is a complicated process, and it goes back years and years and years. When the state, but then the federal government decided that they wanted to become involved in educating children. Now, the U.S. Constitution says anything, the 10th Amendment, anything not included in the powers of the federal government listed in the Constitution are reserved for the state and for the people. And education is not mentioned in the Constitution. So therefore, it is a state authority. It has nothing to do with the federal government. Yet, they have created crises in education. There's even a paper in Washington called The Crisis in Education that was written in the 70s. And it said, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because I want to just go back real quick just to educate the people. So when something is not written in terms of, you're saying education was not,
It's not
written is not part of the Constitution.
Correct.
So therefore, immediately it belongs to the state.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So, and for years, the state constitution says the state will give certain authorities to local school districts who listen to parents because we select our school boards, and we can determine curriculum that's appropriate for our children. For example, if you have a school district in Alaska, they're going to have needs very different than a school district in Florida.
Sure.
You know, their culture is different, their environment is different, so their vocabulary that they use is different. So they want to make sure that the children are educated to be productive and be able to demonstrate what they need to know in the place that they live. So if there's a district in, just say, Louisiana, okay, and they say it's very important to us to have a mention of all of the different kinds of languages that go into the Patois and the Creole and all of those things. That can be part of a classroom experience that's enriching to the children, and it brings them joy.
And a sense of culture.
A sense of culture and a sense of understanding of where their forefathers came from and now how does it affect them. And that's the cultural part that Common Core absolutely is destroying. Now, how does it destroy? It destroys by focusing on what they call non-literature. Okay, so they look at technical manuals, and they want students to read technical manuals. They want them to read reports from the EPA. They want them to read from the federal government, different kinds of reports that come from different agencies so that the children can understand the language. And okay, that's fine and good. I don't have a problem with children learning that. But when they read literature, they read a paragraph, they read a chapter in a book. They never read the entire story. They never see character development. They never know why the character's in the state they're in when they read the passage. They don't get the background of the story. They don't get the culture that's presented in it. They don't get the give and take of personal interactions. They don't get to see character development from an immature person getting insight and wisdom and then benefiting from that. Because they're not reading the books. And a lot of students who are now graduating, because the Common Core has been in effect now since 2009.
Okay.
So now it's 2016. So 7 years, 7 years of high school and middle school. That's that group of children have had very, very little reading of books.
Right.
They've been reading articles and snippets of passages.
So they're not really getting all of what they could get as far as history. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to ask, I want you to answer this question, and it has to do with the federal law that was just passed, that Every Student Succeeds Act. Okay, the return control from the federal government to the states. We want you to answer that when we come back from the break. But before we go to break, in regard to what you just said about history not being able to be taught or fully given because of this issue with Common Core, there's always been a area with the history in education, because even Black history was never really taught.
Absolutely.
So I understand and I can identify with what you are saying. When we come back, we will be right back with Kathleen.
Important news for women who were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and then suffered permanent hair loss. The chemotherapy drug TAXOTERE has been linked to permanent alopecia or permanent hair loss. Some women administered the breast cancer chemotherapy drug TAXOTERE have suffered from permanent hair loss on scalp, eyebrows, and eyelashes. The FDA has urged doctors and the manufacturer to warn women administered TAXOTERE of the risk of permanent hair loss. If you or a loved one were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and suffered permanent hair loss, you may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you suffered permanent hair loss after chemotherapy for breast cancer, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like our mix of vanilla pumpkin seeds, Belgian chocolate, pecans, and mini cookies. Eat them together and it tastes like turtle pie. We'd love to send you a box of snacks for free in your very own Graze sampler box, full of tasty 3 p.m. refuels, savory chip alternatives, and sweet afternoon treats. Every snack has a nutritionist-approved match, and we never use GM ingredients, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors or flavors. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code EAT14, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks, and redeem your free box now at Graze.com with the code EAT14. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
And we are back with Kathleen Zebzda. Now, where does that name hail from?
It is a Polish name.
Polish, okay,
Yes.
because I'm like, wow, tongue twister for real. So now, answer that question before we went to break,
Right.
that question that I posed in regard to the federal government.
Okay, earlier this year, towards the end of last year, there was a lot of negotiations about the Every Student Succeeds Act, and it was signed into law by President Obama, and he made big fanfare about it. It was bipartisan. It was Democrats and Republicans coming together to pass a bill that says every student will succeed. And the three things, or the few things that they highlighted, were that it returned the testing from the federal government to the states. It gave more controls to local districts, and it reduced testing time so there would be less test prep in the classroom. But it's a 1,000-page bill. So when a bill is 1,000 pages, you have to ask, well, what is all in there? So some of us have gone through the bill and looked at it all, and actually it doesn't do those things that they said it did. It does say the state can have control over the testing that the state is going to give, but it also requires that the states administer a test by the federal government that's used only for federal reporting. So now our children who have already been over-tested with all of these tests now have to take an additional test that's used only for federal reporting purposes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so that's another 2 hours or 3 hours of sitting in front of a bubble sheet for children.
So now you're saying another test has just been added.
Yes.
But yet in the bill, the bill
Yes.
that you're talking about,
Yes.
it was not.
Well, what changed was instead of having all of the tests be mandated by the federal government,
Sure.
only one test now is mandated by the federal government. However, the federal government mandates that the states administer a number of other tests to make sure children are on target and benchmark and making adequate yearly progress.
Listen, how do the children feel about this?
It's really
Oh, my.
oppressive. I mean, if you look at, if they said they don't want testing to be more than 2% of class time. Okay, that sounds wonderful. If children are in school for 180 days and 2% of that, it comes to about 30 hours of testing a year. Okay, I used to have the numbers better in my head, but I don't right now.
Wow.
But it's a tremendous amount of time, plus the testing prep that's done. This is how you answer a question if it looks like this. This is how you want to have their children prepared so that they don't become frustrated and anxious about the test.
My goodness. And as a psychologist, right?
Yep.
You,
Yes.
as a psychologist, and as best practices of a psychologist, this sounds as if it's putting a heavier burden on our youngsters, on our children?
The last year that I was working in an elementary school, the fourth graders were given the test. It was during the No Child Left Behind when testing became mandated. And a little boy who had an identified learning disability, sitting at a table, he got extra time to do his test. The teacher normally was able to read his questions to him. Not the test questions, not the passage, but the questions. This one says, look for this. This one says, this is what you have to do. So he would calm down, be able to focus and do his work. On these tests, they're not allowed to be given those kinds of supports. So his teacher would say, do the best you can. It's okay, just do the best you can. And he was looking at the time, it was a 7th grade reading passage that was to see if he could work above grade level, which is a great idea. But when a child is already behind where he would be normally, so he was sobbing and crying on the floor.
He was stressed.
And he said, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. So I had to go down to the room and get him out, calm him down.
So I could imagine what this pressure must be doing for the children across the country.
Absolutely.
We're going to go to another break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you another question that has to do with the rumors that if students do not take the tests, what the school districts and how they will lose federal money, and how true or false is that?
Absolutely.
We will be right back. We are here with Kathleen.
Currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Our accredited staff will handle all of the Medicare paperwork for free, and best of all, your brace is shipped directly to your home for free. Don't let chronic lower back pain slow you down. Get moving and stay active with a medical-grade back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost. We also accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Aetna, Humana, and other insurance. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace covered by Medicare? Find out for free.
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-718-7686. That's 1-800-718-7686, 1-800-718-7686.
Is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Back, New York Total Faith Network. We're around the country now in all the islands and states and everywhere, and people are watching us worldwide, and this is affecting our country, America, USA, the land of the free, so they say, but in the home of liberty, whatever. Talk to us about that answer. What about the federal government losing money if these children, or if this Common Core, you know, is not in practice, which it has been since 2009.
Sure. What we all understand is that parents are the first educators of their children. And it is a parent's responsibility and their right to direct the education of their child. So it's if a parent says, I do not want my child to participate in an activity in the school, they have every right to do that. And no authority, there is no authority that can take that right away from a parent. It's just the way It is. It's a God-given right.
Sure.
It's not written in the law. It is what it is.
Wow.
And for the federal government to hint to states that they should penalize families for not participating
Wow.
is really bullying. And a big emphasis on schools these days is don't have a bullying,
Wow.
you know, and look for bullies and deal with them. The federal government is being a bully.
It
And
appears
they're-
a lot of
and
this is going on.
It's heavy-handed and it's intimidation.
Wow.
So that's one part of it. Another part of it is, you know, they say Title I, very important money from the federal government to deal with our schools that are struggling or lower income children, children on reduced lunches and that kind of thing. And that money is very, very important to keep schools that are really struggling with economics to keep their head above water. And those are the ones that they're threatening the most. And that to me is really an underhanded way.
So people don't know about this? No one knows except for just because, you know, people have to be, they have to be made aware.
Absolutely.
Why isn't the media covering this?
Well, they do, but they cover it from the state's point of view. They don't always cover it from the parents' point of view. And if they do, they always temper it with, you know, someone like John King, who was the chancellor of New York State Schools. He was the commissioner. Arnie Duncan, who's now, John King went to Washington, D.C. He's probably going to be our next Secretary of Education.
Over the state.
Over
the country.
Over the country, right.
Wow, this is a country issue.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
That's
this
right.
is
It is absolutely a
country
country
issue. This is
issue.
a nation's issue. This
That's
is
right.
not just a
Well, actually, it's international.
internet.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
No, because a lot of the funding for this comes from corporations. And the corporations,
Okay.
you know, everyone's saying there's too much corporation in the government.
Look, we're
This
going to
is
go to a
good
quick break.
example.
We're going to go to a quick break. Do not tune away.
Attention current and future Medicare recipients. If you have recently enrolled in Medicare, or if you will enroll in Original Medicare within the next few months, you may be eligible to get extra benefits such as dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan with hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage combined together in a single plan that may include extra benefits such as hearing, dental, and vision for one affordable payment, or in some cases a $0 monthly plan premium regardless of your income. Medicare Enroll America will help you shop plans to find affordable prices and the right coverage for you, even if you're already enrolled in Original Medicare. Are you eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan and possibly a $0 monthly premium regardless of pre-existing conditions?
Call 1-800-590-1580. To speak with a licensed insurance agent now, call 1-800-590-1580.
I want you, Kathleen, for the last few minutes to speak into this camera before we close because we're wrapping up. Please speak into this camera and let the world know, let the Total Faith viewers know why you believe in this Common Core to repel in a timely manner, and why you believe the corporations have a lot to do with this because there's money involved.
That's right. I wanted to speak with every parent who has a child who has a bright spot in their eye in the morning as they're sending them off to school. And then at the end of the day, they're exhausted and they're tired and they're overwrought with all of the stresses that are going on. This is why it's happening. The federal government has put a lot of energies into changing the way our children are taught. It's one size fits all. It's a cookie cutter. They use words like we want to instill in our children tenacity and perseverance. That's another way of saying let's beat them into submission. It's a bullying tactic, and it's heavy-handed, and it's not the way children learn. Children are not cookie cutters. They are individuals with strengths and weaknesses and joys and happinesses and struggles at times as well. And every teacher is gifted in a way of knowing how to reach a child, how to do what children need. So that's the main reason. We need to have the Common Core laws that were passed in New York State and across the nation to be repealed. They were passed by legislation. They need to be repealed by legislation. And parents have the power to do that.
And they can get in touch with you, tell them.
And you can get in touch with me. It says right here, New York United for Kids. totalfaithNetwork.com. And we have on our website, we have videos, we have articles, we have white papers, we have position papers, we have things that we've written for legislators. We have ways for you to contact us. We have bookmarks that we would love for you to say, send me 200 bookmarks. I will send them to you. You can give them out to everybody you know. It gives them quickly, here are all the things Common Core is and why we need to have it repealed. It's available to you. Please contact us and we will be very happy. We have over 50,000 people have contacted our webpage just in the past couple of, in the last year or so. And we're growing, but we need to have more of you know about us so that we can help you. And if you want us to come to you and teach you, we're very happy to do that as well.
Thank you so much for this information. You've just enlightened me, you've just educated me, and you've also inspired me to know a little bit more about what is happening with the constitutional amendments, if you will. And rights are seemingly to being violated more often than enough. You know, just for black people alone, we're not even really in the Constitution, if you will. I mean, we're there, but as not even a whole man. But it's okay. The point is, we know what we're dealing with, but now the whole country is being affected. So now everyone is crying, and we're making our voices heard. And I appreciate you.
We do want every child to get the very
Of course,
best education.
every child should get the best education, and we agree. And I agree with that, the best education. And with that said, I want to say thank you to the United Yonkers. I mean, you hear me? United Yonkers. New Yorkers United for Kids. Kathleen representing psychologists talking about Common Core and repelling this matter. And with that said, please get in touch with her at United Kids. She's given the email in New York United for Kids.com. And also go to www.TotalFaithNetwork.com and you'll see some information there along with contact us page. Fill it out. Reach out to me if you have any comments, suggestions, or if you have a prayer request. I always close out this show and I always say to every one of you, we at Total Faith Network and on Total Faith Show, and everyone that's a part of Total Faith, we walk in total faith, bringing healing and empowerment one show at a time.
Come on, get your hands up. Everybody sing it out. This is how we live it. The total